Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Carlo Prusa MMA. Today, we got a special guest for us. We got a top flyweight prospect. He calls himself the Super Jew. He is Mr. Micah Haas. He's getting ready for a big LFA contest against Christian Natividad. Micah, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Love and life, blessed and highly prosperous, my friend.
Absolutely, man. So, you've been off to such a great start in your professional mixed martial arts career, 6-0. Again, a lot of traction on social media, becoming a very popular prospect. And, I think one of the things instantly that I see about you is you're a very well rounded mixed martial artist. You're very good striking, you're very good on the ground, and you're a very fun and entertaining fighter. Do you take a lot of pride in your fighting style?
I do take a lot of pride in my fight style, although I feel like I really have not yet displayed my true fight style. Whatever reason it's been, I'm excited to go out there and put out some real exciting fights here in the future.
Absolutely. Something we're seeing in this new wave of mixed martial arts, especially in the last 5, 6 years, is how entertainment and personality driven it has become now. We're seeing guys put on these personas, these characters. Some guys play it up. Some guys, it is who it is, but they do it because it knows that's what it takes to get to the title shots. It knows what it takes to get to the UFC. It knows what it takes to make the big bucks in this sport. For you, how do you feel that entertainment and personality has affected martial arts?
I think it 100 has affected it. If it's positive or negative, it's hard to say. I think every weight class is almost different as well. I think 125 is that weight class where at this current time, it's a highlight weight class only. They only want the most exciting, the most entertaining fighters in and outside the cage. I think that's where I step in the best. I think when I do make it to a UFC, I'm going to be a breath of fresh air in that division. I'm going to bring a little bit of swag that the division needs, a little bit of fun, a little bit of showmanship that I think has been left out of that division, that other divisions have. And it's one of the reasons why we don't soar so well. But I'm made for this. I'm not putting on an act. I'm not playing around. I am a big, bright, outspoken, loud guy who likes to be heard. I'm narcissistic in ways. That's why I fight. That's why I want all the cameras, all the lights on me all the time. So I'm made for this lifestyle. It doesn't add on to the pressure. It makes it easier for me.
When you look at the 125 division, I think for so long, Demetrius Johnson was in the UFC absolutely killing it. They had to do a reality show just to get him opponents. And I think kind of people got a little burnt out from it. But now when you look at the regional scene on 125 division, that's one of the best divisions there is right now. I mean, there's so many talented top guys. Bilal Hassan's out there, Fumi Nakuta's out there, yourself's out there. Are you really excited by this? Do you really feel that 125 division is going to be one of the premier divisions for years to come?
It's undoubtedly the hardest division to fight for. There's no question about it. If I was a heavyweight, I would be in the UFC already, having putting light work on guys. Being a flyweight is unbelievably demanding, not only the cardiovascular conditioning that we have, but also the level of training that we need to have in all practices. There's just some weight classes that you don't have to have great wrestling, great jiu-jitsu, and great striking. You can have one of the few, but in our division, you have to have all of them just because just the way we all fight and the speed and level that we all fight at. I think I'm almost purposely making it harder on myself, being this division. This division doesn't get as many eyes as the rest of the division, so making your way in is a little bit harder. But at the same time, it's a little bit of a smaller of a waiting pool. There's not as many in there. So if you can make your name for yourself, if you can be exciting, you can go out there and put on shows. I think it makes you look bigger and brighter faster. So that's why I'm in this division, and I know I can be one of the best in this division.
One of the byproducts, I think, of this whole entertainment, personality-driven era of mixed martial arts is a term called the casual fan. I think for you personally, you play up to these people. I mean, you're going to be a guy that these casual fans absolutely love and embrace. For those who don't know, the casual fans are usually drunk. You find them at B-dubs. They like to yell, twist them, and the you-know-what, and say all this crazy stuff. What do you think of this type of fan?
I appreciate all fans. Our sport, we cannot be so prideful that we can disapprove or disallow certain people. Any person that has any love for a sport of violence is a friend of mine and a fan of mine. I'm out there to be there for everybody. I'm not just fighting necessarily for myself. I do have other reasons I fight for. I do want to make the world a better place. I think it's a responsibility of any person who has a platform to use his platform for a good purpose. But casual fan, know-it-all fan, guy who doesn't even know what MMA is, come watch me. I guarantee you're going to enjoy yourself.
I feel like the casual fans, they're watching the UFC almost every single weekend now starting to watch the regional promotions. And, I think they look at the big names, right? You look at the Masvidals, the McGregors, the Habibs, and they're like, wow, being a fighter, this is amazing. Greatest lifestyle ever. Little do they know, man, battling it on the regional scene, you're losing money. Guys have that 9-to-5 job. You miss birthdays, weddings, Thanksgiving. Some have wives, some have kids. Pay to train, wake up early, stay up late, just for the chance to maybe fight in the big shows like the UFC or the PFL and maybe unlock financial freedom from it. You've been doing this for quite a while now, man. What's made you keep sticking through and grinding every single day?
Man, again, just the love of this. I signed up for this. These aren't necessarily woe or me's. They're good problems I get to have, and I get to put in front of myself. I've said this before in interviews and with others. If I wanted to chase financial security, I could. I have different degrees. I have different licenses. I had an amazing career in real estate prior to this. I purposely knew all of that would happen. I knew that I would have to get rid of the houses, get rid of the cars, get rid of the toys, get rid of financial security to chase this dream. But man, there's no better feeling than chasing your dream over something so boring as financial security. I know it will come. I know I'm good enough to make it happen. For now, I'll eat rice and beans until I get to where I need to be. And luckily, I have an amazing support system. I have amazing sponsors that do keep me financially dependent, where I can put my sole career in this. I don't have a job. All I do is this. I train some people in the off time for a little bit of an extra compensation, but outside of this, it's 24/7 MMA until I'm done.
I feel like a lot of people, they don't understand exactly what fighters go through. Obviously, they see what's going on in the cage. They see the battle of, beating the guy, winning belts, moving up, going to the big shows. But, what I think a lot of people do not realize is I think there's two fights of being a mixed martial artist. Once you're fighting for competition, two, you're fighting to live a world on your own terms. You're fighting to go away from this 9-to-5 static, clock in, clock out. You're fighting financial freedom. You're fighting to go against the norm of society. For you, is that another reason why you fight?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I belong in the necessarily norm ideology of society. When I was in the financial world and when I was financially independent, the more money I made, the less happy I was. The less happy I was, the more I knew I needed that life of competition back in my life. I literally gave up a Fortune 500 job. I gave up a house. I gave up having family and support systems to move across the country where I knew nobody, just for the sport. And again, I do it happily, and I'll do it again. I do it for purposely to keep distractions out of my life. When I have nobody and nothing around me, there's nothing that can take over. I don't eat. I don't travel. I don't go out to concerts. I don't drink. I don't do anything. It's all about this. I haven't bought new clothes. I haven't done anything that isn't derived around this. If there's something I'm wearing, if there's something I'm showing and it looks nice, it's probably because I've been given it to by a sponsor.
For me, something that I'm learning about mixed martial arts, something I've been watching for like 20 years now, so passionate, such a fan of, I'm starting to see there's a business aspect to this, and it's fighting. Who are you fighting on the regional scene? Who are you going to fight to maybe get to the next level? That's a business decision. Who are you doing interviews with? Who are your sponsors? What are you posting on social media? What are you wearing? There's so many different business aspects. Do you think having your background in the corporate world, has that maybe made that easier to maybe navigate the business side?
Yes. I don't necessarily know if it's the corporate world because I never wasn't part of it so long. It's more of the Jew world. Being born up a Jew, you're born and you're raised in the knowledge of finances, the knowledge of how to take care of yourself. You have a little bit of a lawyer in you, no matter what. So I've always known how to, one, take care of myself as an individual, but also know how to get mine. I know my value. I know what I'm worth, and I'll always make sure I get that worth.
All right, you kind of alluded to it, but let's bring up the nickname here. We can name ourselves anything. Why did we go with Super Jew?
It came naturally for sure, but one just to be absolutely different. There's nobody out there that has that same name. I wanted to make sure that I stood out. Two, being Jewish is a huge part of my identity. I grew up the youngest of 5 boys in an extremely centered Jewish household in the synagogue, where I didn't meet my first friend outside my synagogue until I was like 13, 14 years old. In the world right now, it's crazy what's going on in the world right now. And you could ask me as an individual what my opinion is on some of the things going on. But as far as me being a Jew is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. It's where I found a lot of love, a lot of family, a lot of community, and things like that. So it reminds me of who I am. It reminds me of my culture. It reminds me of my religion. It reminds me of my family. My family is insanely important to me. My mother and my father. I lost my mother a few years ago, and every single fight from the beginning till now, I say this is for my mom. I say thank you, mom. I say Allah Shamav, which is I love you, mother. So it's really, really big part of my identity. To add on to it, I'm a huge nerd. I'm a big comic book guy. I was in the anime world when it wasn't the cool thing to do. So it kind of just put together like a little bit of my culture, a little bit of that comic book world. Let's make it a little fun and a little stupid. Super Jew it is.
So there's another guy out there. His name's not coming to my mind, but he calls himself the Juminator.
Actually, you know what? We follow each other on Instagram. He reached out to me recently. I think he just fought this past weekend. He lives. I want to say he's in somewhere in Europe, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We actually follow each other. We reach out to each other. And he was like, "Man, us Jewish people gotta be, with each other." I'm like, "I got you, bro. You got to follow back from me. Good luck."
So you've been doing some action for LFA lately, one of the big feeder systems to get to the UFC, to get to the big platforms. Do you feel that this is an organization that you can go to that's really going to help you take that next step?
Yeah. What does it mean to be able to fight with them? It means everything. I have the opportunity to fight really with anybody and everybody. What it comes down to is who's willing to fight me. It's always been a super, super hard time finding me opponents. The last 3 or 4 fights in between, we've had to wait 2 or 3 months past what we wanted to. We've had to say yes to 15 maybe fighters per time until we get a yes. LFA, being that they are one of the highest promotions, they have the best fighters on deck, and they have those guys who are willing to fight me. The guy who I'm fighting coming up, I'm super excited about it. I know he's an absolute killer. I know we're going to go in there and absolutely put hands on each other, and I know it's going to be a true fight to prove how good I really am.
In this day and age, there's so many different regional promotions now. I mean, if you have UFC Fight Pass, you seriously can watch a fight like 4 or 5 days out of the week. It's absolutely insane now. And, I think one thing we're seeing is there's certain promotions out there that are grooming guys and giving them favorable matchups. They go 8-0, 9-0. They get in the UFC. They're out after their first contract because they haven't fought anything close to the next level of competition. The reason why you are really appealing to me is you're going out there fighting tough dudes, man. I mean, you're fighting guys with winning records. Your next opponent here, Christian Natividad, 6-0 guy. This is 2 undefeated guys. One is dropping, putting the L to their name. For you, do you feel that this is just something you need to do to be successful in the sport?
Yeah, it's one thing I absolutely need to do. 2, I'm at the age where I can't sit here and pick and choose who I'm going to fight. And 3, I want nothing about that. I'm in the sport not for glory, not for fame, and not for the ideations of others, but for the love of myself and for self-actualization. I really want to know how good I am. I know how good I am. I want everyone else to know how good I am, but I can't know how truly good I am until I test myself against the very best. On that, I don't think my opponent has necessarily done that. I don't think he's fought the best guys in the world. I think his record is a little bit soft compared to the guys who I fought. As an amateur, I fought 3 guys who are in the top 10 in the nation. And as a pro, I fought nothing but the best guys ahead of me. I wish I could fight harder guys, but the harder guys have said no through the years. I've truly tried to fight the best fight possible. I've never fought anybody with a losing record. I've never fought anybody with a worse record or less fights than me. I've always been looking for the best fights. My last fight, the guy was supposed to be a prodigy, a 21-year-old, a 20-year-old prodigy with not a lot of fight tape on him. Just that idea is scary, and I like that. It lit me up. It really made me train harder than I've ever trained before. And I'll tell you this right now. The guy I'm fighting next, I've never put in a camp like this. I'm in the best shape of my life, mentally, physically, and spiritually. I'm ready to go out there and literally put my face in front of my fists if I need to and do whatever I need to do to get this victory. So
overall, what do you think of Christian as an opponent?
Nothing. I just learned his name today when you said it. I don't pay attention to these guys. They are they, and they are not me. I only want to pay attention to myself. If I spend too much time on them, I give them too much credit for what they are. I watched his most recent fight. That was it. He's a short, super athletic, hit hard, good everywhere Hawaiian. I fought nothing but big, short, athletic, strong guys in the room my whole career. I know exactly what he's looking to bring. He knows nothing what I'm going to bring. I have so many different ways I can come to this fight. He's got one way he has to come to this fight. So I'm super excited for the matchup.
Now you're a 6-0 fighter right now. Obviously, with the win here, you'll be 7-0. Every single summer, they do something called the Dana White Contender Series. We don't want to overthink. We have a killer in front of us, but we'll be lying if that's not crossing your mind.
When people talk about don't look past your opponent or don't look into the future, I find that almost kind of ridiculous to think about, because it's like, first and foremost, these are our careers. We have to plan our careers accordingly. We have to plan for what the future is presenting. And two, if I don't have the confidence and the belief in myself to know that once this date is done, once April 19th comes around, there's not a 1 on my name, but there's another 0. There's a 0 still left on my name. It's self-belief that gets you there. It's not well, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Well, hopefully I will. Hopefully no. April 28th, I go out there, I do anything I need to beat this kid. After I beat this kid, I show Dana White, I show Sean Shelby, I show Mick Maynard that I'm the very, very best prospect in this country, regardless of anything else around there. And if I'm not on Dana White Contender Series this year, then I better be getting a short-notice fight in the UFC.
For you, do you feel that mixed martial arts is more mental than is physical?
100%. I say this all the time, especially with teammates, because there's days where you're going there and you're the nail, and then there's days you go in there and you're not the nail, and you're getting hammered. And the only difference is the mindset, right? It's the exact same training partner. You prep for the way you were supposed to, but your results were different. So the only way you know that the results were different, if everything else was the same, was the mindset. I truly believe the sport is 99% mental, 1% physical. I believe I have the brain, the mentality, and the spirituality for the sport. There's not someone who's going to break me. I can't break myself. So I think that's one of the biggest things I have above these guys.
You're really starting to pick up a lot of attention around yourself. You're becoming a name on the regional scene. You're probably a type of guy now where you're having people reach out to you almost every single day. Younger fighters, guys now starting to look up to you, guys that are kind of molding themselves off of you to use yourself as inspiration to get to the next level. Is it pretty cool when you have younger fighters, reaching out and being like, hey, man, you look up to me, and do you have any words of advice, that can help my career?
It does. It helps. It helps realign. It helps prove that I'm doing the right things when others say, hey, the way I watch you, the way you train, the way you operate, it's something that I want to do. It does give me a lot of confidence. At the same time, my confidence is my confidence. I don't need anyone in my ear telling me how good I am or where I'm at. I've always been a negatively reinforced kind of self-driven human being. But yeah, at the same time, it does help me. And if I do have one word of advice to the amateurs, to anybody who's looking to do the sport, regardless of your age, if you feel you're too young or too old, because I got into the sport at an older age, even though I've been doing it for a very long time, is that what you have to lose. This world is already a corrupt, destruct world that's trying to control you and have you do things that you don't want to do. Why not take an insane risk? My father always told me the one thing that you never want to say to yourself is only if I did. Only if I tried. There's nothing wrong with failure. There's everything wrong with not trying.
It's kind of crazy to think about, man. You've only been a pro for 2 years, and in that 2 years, you've accomplished so much. You've found some huge regional promotions. You're very hyped up. You have a lot of promise for very good reason. Is it crazy to think back? We're not there yet. We're not where we want to be. But is it crazy to see what we've accomplished in this last 2 years?
Yeah, it is. And, I that's the one thing I got to do. I got to keep pulling myself back and telling myself, hey, man, like, you've done a lot. You're doing a lot. There's a long way to go, but you're definitely not, at the starting spot. I'm in a great place. I have good problems to have. Having to fight the best in the country, having to rush to get fights to try to get on Dana White Contender Series before the calendar month ends. These are all good problems to have, and I'm happy to have them, and I'm willingly taking them on. And I am super proud of myself where I've come. I knew I would be here if I just stuck to what I knew, and we did. So I'm very, very happy, and I'm proud of myself, and I'm really excited for what's left, and there's so much more left.
So overall, what does it mean for you to call yourself a martial artist?
I think that's a big question. What is a martial artist? For everyone, we have a different definition, but for me, everything in my life comes back to being a martial artist. I use it constantly. I use martial arts constantly in conversations with family, friends, relatives, clients. For me, being a martial artist is someone who chases self-actualization every day, trying to become 1% better every day in every aspect of life. Let it be maybe the fighting and a different aspect of fighting, or a different aspect of my life. Let it be religiously, spiritually, physically, my relationships around me, my businesses around me, but trying to become better every day, not make excuses, putting yourself in bad positions to become better.
You know, one thing I love about martial arts is like the definition of being martial arts. You know, you've really nailed it on the head, but you know, it's those values of loyalty, discipline, respect. And I think that's something that's kind of getting lost in this day and age of mixed martial arts. When you look at it, all these big guys, no one calls himself a martial artist anymore. They call themselves a fighter. And I just think it's two different perspectives. Do you agree? Do you feel this whole value of being a martial artist, is this something that's being lost in today's world?
I couldn't agree more. You know, my favorite fighter of all time was GSP, George St. Pierre. Nowadays, people ask me, you know, who's your favorite fighter? Who are fighters that you look up to? And it's very, very, very few. One, you know, they say never meet your heroes because they become devils, and you find out these guys aren't necessarily living a life as a martial artist. I don't want to be a prize fighter. Again, I could go make prize money in some other field in life. I want to chase self-actualization. I want to show others that they can accomplish their goals regardless of what they are. But I do believe the world of mixed martial arts is losing the identity of what a martial arts is, and they're just trying to be an entertainer first, a fighter second, and then an individual third, where I think if you separate yourself from who you are and reaffirm yourself with the actual practices of what we are, the sport, I think we'll find true identity.
You know, before we wrap up here, I want to run you through some big upcoming UFC contests, and I want to get your predictions and see who you think you're going to get your hand raised here. So we got a big card, UFC Miami, going down in just a couple of weeks. Big one on there is Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler. Who do we have winning this one?
I'm usually someone who always goes with experience over up and coming, and experience over youth and things like that. Now, Michael Chandler, the worst fight IQ in the top 10 of the UFC in any division, and then Paddy Pimblett, who's being pushed by UFC. It's time for him to run in the wall. Hasn't fought anyone too tough. I think Michael Chandler is going to be knowledgeable enough to do the things that he knows not need to do to keep himself protected, and I think he's going to smash Paddy.
How about Alexander Volkanovski or Diego Lopez?
The great. You can't go against Volkanovski. He's the best. He's one of the best to ever do it. You always go against a guy who's been in championship fights before. He's one of the best champs to ever do it. Diego's awesome. He's phenomenal. But when you watch how he fights, he's chaotic. And Alex does so well with guys who are chaotic.
Jack Della Maddalena or Bilal Muhammad?
That's a tougher fight, but I'm going to go Bilal. I had Bilal beating Sean Brady. I had Bilal beating Leon, not necessarily because of the skills of the fighter, but because of the mindset of the fighter. Bilal has that true self-actualization and true belief that is unsquenchable, unbreakable. So unless Jack's going to go out there and put him out, which, you know, Bilal's got a head on him like none other, I don't think he's going to get it done.
Merab Dvalishvili or Sean O'Malley?
You know, I have a little background information about that first camp that they were in. I had trained with one of the sides a little bit. I think if Sean O'Malley has a healthy hip, is fully conditioned and going into this fight the way he's supposed to, I think Sean can go out there and make it look good.
Absolutely. You know, we mentioned some of the top names in the sport right now. Obviously, in your division, you had 125 in UFC, so many killers. Last night was a big one to Brandon Moreno in there, you know, Steve Eckridge in there, you know, Figueiredo's done stuff in there, all these different names. Pantoja, obviously, you know. Right now, are you viewing these guys as opponents?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily view them as like individual potential opponents in the next, you know, week or two, obviously, because I'm not there yet. But when I'm watching the fights, when I'm watching the cards, and I always do, I'm definitely comparing and contrasting. How good are these guys? Are they faster than me? Are they bigger than me? Are they throwing better combinations than me? Do they have better fight IQ? And day in, day out, when I watch fights, I'm like, I can 100% keep up with these guys. I know I can beat these guys. You know, the trying to think of the fight last night between the Mexican and the other Latino gentleman at 125, Royale. I think I could keep up with either of those guys. I think I'm more durable than a lot of these guys. I think I have way better fight IQ than a lot of these guys. So I definitely think not only can I keep up with them, I can beat these guys.
For you, how much fun are you having on this journey?
So much fun. It's, you know, again, I wouldn't be doing this unless I was enjoying it. I absolutely do love it. You know, you don't love the aches and pains. You don't love the headaches and the body aches, but you love every other part about it. The waking up knowing that I have a hard day in front of me is one of the best feelings. And I will keep doing this until I love it. The second I don't love it, I'll stop doing it, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Absolutely. All right. In a perfect world, what is the outcome? LFA 207. You're taking on Christian Natividad April 18th.
It's a banger. That's all I want out of this fight. I just want it to be an absolute banger. I want it to be violent. I want him to put his hands on me, and then I'm going to put my hands on him a little bit more.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Micah, man, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to me, man. Really enjoy watching you fight. I think you have a great mindset, a great personality, and I really think you do this for the right reason. So I really appreciate it, my friend.
All right, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity, Carla. I appreciate you greatly. And watch out, LFA, April 18th. I'm taking someone's head.
Absolutely. That's it for us tonight. I'm Carl Peruzza. He's the Super Jew. He is Mr. Micah Toss. You watch him April 18th, taking out Christian Natividad. Take it easy, fight fans.